So welcome back to another episode, 15th of May 2026. And I think just now, the biggest news this week, of course, was the much anticipated Trump's visit to Beijing. In fact, one of my friends is in a music show in Beijing right now. And he said the streets are clear.
Wow.
And he said, well, he was hoping to see the beast, but I don't think he'll be so lucky because Beijing was so huge, right?
Should have seen it here in Malaysia.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a better chance of seeing it here. But it has been kind of, the whole trip has been hyped out for a while. And then because of the Iran war, it has been delayed. But finally, it was there. So, we want to kind of talk about a few things today. Of course, Trump's visit to China. And we want to talk about the local happening here with Petrol Subsidy. And all the reaction of T20, which I find kind of interesting because there seems to be some genuine backlash this time. Then, of course, we want to kind of wrap up and talk about, are we in the general election cycle? But first, Trump in China and the backdrop, of course, we've been, the last two episodes, we talk about the whole Iran war, the Straits of Hormuz, and how it really affects Malaysia also. I think our economy is feeling the strain. But let's talk about the first thing first, right? That I think surprised a lot of people is just the whole list of tech bro, tech CEO that Trump brought along, which a lot of people criticize. And they'll be like, when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about a lot of establishment people, the economists and things like that. They'll be like, this is so unconventional. But after 10 years of Trump, people still don't get him. And every decision he made, they still try to paint him from the traditional political lens. But someone was making a statement that Donald Trump is the first real estate American president. So everything is about negotiation. And so what's your first reaction when you saw that he was bringing Elon Musk, Tim Cook, and I think even NVIDIA CEO was kind of last minute. In fact, they're picking up in Alaska. It's so funny, right? I think someone called in and said, Jensen, you have to come and we're going to pick you up in Alaska before we go to Beijing. So what's your impression of, what do you think was Trump's goal here?
Yeah, first of all, talk about the NVIDIA's CEO, because I saw an interview. He was actually being interviewed by, I think, some Chinese journalists, and they were just basically asking him, why such a last minute arrangement? And he said, because President Trump asked me to. So you can see definitely there is a lot of mutual respect that they do feel for President Trump. And really, I think Trump, what he did was he's showing that he's indeed making America great again. And so I feel there is genuinely a lot of respect that comes from all these tech bros. Even I was kind of like just reminded of what Mark Zuckerberg, he was just saying, especially during the moment when he saw Trump just like raising his fists when he was almost nearly assassinated, and he just genuinely felt proud to be American. So I feel there's a lot of that sort of feeling proud to be American again. I think generally in United States, which is something that if you don't like follow through, and if you're so consumed with mainstream media, you will just be thinking that, hey, it's a lot of backlash for President Trump and his maybe popularity is dropping. But what he's really showing there and bringing like this whole entourage of like great people whom you say basically is the whole American GDP.
Yep.
It's like there in the States.
Not just a tech
China.
bro, right? You have BlackRock, you have the bankers, so it's not just the tech bro, it is basically American economy there.
Yeah, I feel it's a lot of key decision makers that he brought there, but also in a way I felt he was also flexing a little bit. In a good way that actually showed that, hey, we are to be respected on the world stage. And I think one of the things is there's a lot of intellectual property theft in China. Maybe they are also trying to just put them in line. I felt there is a bit of that, but although it's not like clearly specified. So there's also the Boeing deal that went through. So I thought it was kind of a good meeting.
Yeah, another thing which I think we kind of talked about it in previous episode, but maybe not so obvious to a lot of people is when China first opened up with Deng Xiaoping and things like that, it is really the initiative of the American Chamber of Commerce. And basically, and then later on, China was admitted to WTO, and then you had successive Democrats and Republican administration, both the same. They're basically making China the world's factory. But then, of course, there is a price. You have to make all our companies profitable. So, but the one person who wants to change this equilibrium was, of course, President Xi. And he came in and almost like trying to project a Maoist kind of, they call it wolf diplomacy. And in fact, his opening remark, he kind of demonstrated that when he kind of talked at length about Taiwan. And American basically have nothing to say about Taiwan. And and that's why some commentators is like, oh, Trump is abandoning Taiwan. No, actually it's not. It's like actually when you have nothing to say, the thing to say is our position on Taiwan remained unchanged. So anyway, that's a whole thing. And you can see the last 10, 12 years with President Xi, he tries to like, close up the economy in terms of, like how Starbucks is leaving all those countries, and you can see a lot of car manufacturer also cannot survive, like EV, all being pushed up because they want to push their own system, their own economy with Xiaomi, Huawei, and things like that. But then I think the Chinese finally found that, hey, we cannot be the world market. Even we're the most, they're not the most populated nation anymore. They're second behind India. But they realized that they need the American market. And this tariff war kind of made them realize that. And I felt like Trump bringing all these people is just basically saying, look, I can help you if you help yourself. So because Trump is a deal maker at the end of the day. And people kind of compare him with how Reagan dealt with Russia. And remember how Reagan is just basically saying that you are evil empire and I don't want to deal with you. And so in that sense, you can say Trump is probably like he is more, I think someone described him as a Machiavellian. Like he's not so straightforward. He go there, say all the nice thing, and he kept praising President Xi and keep praising China. But really, he wanted to see how bad their economy is. That's how one commentator put it. So, and you haven't heard any announcement of substance because it almost felt like both sides are kind of sizing each other up and see how much we can push each other.
Yeah, I do feel that in a lot of sense because I've been like trying to just find a bit more news about it, and it's like pretty quiet. I mean, even with like various medias, there's more talk on Iran rather than China. So I feel, okay, it's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, it will be in China's best interest if the blockade is ceased completely. So on that note, I do feel both sides are really kind of like just trying to see who has an upper hand here.
Now, there is another kind of theory floating around, especially in the MAGA circle, which is, yes, China needs the oil and is harming their economy, but China being a nation kind of like ruled by dictator, they don't have elections, they don't have they don't need approval of the citizen, so they can afford to have extended period of bad economy, whereas America cannot. So that's why the longer it lingers, it will also harm Trump in the sense of the midterm. So really at the end, it's like who can take more pain, in terms of it's a battle of attrition. Now, very interestingly, kind of under the radar was the fact that Foreign Minister of Russia also came 24 hours before Trump. And so there's this whole geopolitical thing because in terms of Iran being compliant, there are two kind of variable here. First, of course, China will have to kind of, say, I'm not going to help you anymore. But the other country that needs to be involved is Russia because these are the two main supporters of Iran. So what does Russia want? So one of the theory is Russia wants America, which Trump has already been doing, to be kind of hands-off Ukraine. And but of course, all the Western Europe are like crying, like not crying, like it's like they're kind of passive aggressive with Trump. It's like, you're not helping us, you are abandoning NATO, and then we can come up with our own Euro army. Excuse me. I mean, kind of like, I don't know, they kind of like a bit double-minded when it comes to Trump. But the theory is that Russia, of course, is not looking for an outright victory over Ukraine. I think that would not be acceptable to anyone. But just for America to hands off sufficiently that the war can be ended with terms favorable to Russia. So, and I think, more than anything, Russia and China are similar. They need to be able to exit the stage with their face intact.
That's true. That's true.
So, but anyway, let's. I mean, I kind of like put a timer here, so we move on to our topic. But closely related to, I mean, of course, I think we can. Let's see, in the next couple of weeks, if any deals were announced. I mean, beside the Boeing deal, which China has not even confirmed, but there's nothing of substance to report for now, right? But the whole Iran thing, Straits of Hormuz, even though Trump kept saying we don't need China's help, but it kind of affects Malaysia, right? Because I mean, we kept saying, when PMS with Madani, now of course everyone is trying to say, look, you don't understand the constraint of PMS. You only have 80 plus seat and things like that. So yeah, I mean, we kind of analyze this quite a lot, right? But then he continued to kind of like want more Malay vote share, and then he kind of the whole term Mahakaya that he has been using on and off. But now finally it's like the whole issue is boiling up because of the suggestion that the subsidy could be removed for certain category, and namely the T20 or T10 or T5, whatever you want to name it. And you have been seeing quite a lot of strong reaction out there. So what do you make of all, like of course government is like backtracking now and say, oh, nothing or such, because I think they saw the backlash, because these are not wealthy people in a sense. They are very, very comfortable. These are people who are just, I mean, they have a certain lifestyle, okay? These people you will not classify them as poor or in poverty level. These are middle class people, but it doesn't mean their life is super comfortable. So what do you make of the whole initial suggestion and the reactions, and where do we go from here? I mean, subsidy is a very thorny issue.
Yeah, actually, I feel in many ways, Malaysian government, the current administration, they are very much playing from like Marxist playbook, in the sense that I control how you should be living and things like that. And so hence you are allowed to be comfortable but not overly comfortable. So I feel there's a lot of that sense of self-righteousness that is really being exerted by this current administration. So in many sense, I felt perhaps they really didn't anticipate that there will be such a tremendous amount of backlash. I mean, because earlier on you talk about like there is a certain amount of tax that is going to be issued on dividends, but right, dividends are tax-free. So with all these things, I mean, there has been relatively less backlash than anticipated. So I feel maybe perhaps they thought they can also get away with this T20 proposed cut for this subsidy as well. So I guess it's not so easy, because these people work hard for their lifestyle. And I mean, working class people are if you talk about a whole demographic in this nation, there's a lot of working class people. So yes, there is a lot of B40 as well. But how long can you continue to just keep feeding them? So because I mean, without actual hard work and things like that, I'm not saying that these people don't work hard, but maybe there's certain lifestyle that they have chosen as well to choose the easy way out that cause them to be continuously trapped in poverty. So we have also mentioned so many times in this show that the government should really review their policies to see how can you benefit people from all levels of society and actually just come to that place of where they are able to really just try to make a living, and people will be happy to live the Malaysian dream, like how people are living the American dream. So on that note, I felt the government has always been maybe victimizing the rich.
Yeah, I mean that's always I mean that has been PMS's kind of overt stance, right? And which is a bit ironic because when he first started off, before he even went into the Mahakaya kind of rhetoric, he was like saying that it shouldn't be race based, it should be need based, right? I mean he said that I think in year one of his administration, but then let me ask you this question: how much? I think we discussed it previously, but just a very quick one. How much of this it is himself, or how much of this is the fact that he is constrained by the so-called other partners, namely UMNO and things like that?
I think actually a lot of part of it is himself. I mean, look at how he was actually criticizing. There was one schoolgirl, right, that talked about like certain race. I think she's an Indian. Then she doesn't really like get so much help from the government, and when in fact the family is like also needing. I mean, you do need some people do need financial help to go to university, and so but there is just so many quota in place, so many protectionism that is more race-based than need-based. So then you begin to talk about the abolishment of affirmative action as well. And there is to that note, it has always been very silent, but then when it's publicly been challenged like that, and his first reaction was, no, I mean we're not gonna like abolish this affirmative action. We still need that in place. But why then again the question would be like, why is the affirmative action being applied on majority race, not on minority race? So it's like there are so many criteria that can determine if a certain group is being more oppressed than the other group. So, but why only use one criteria, which is skin color? So I felt on that note, maybe it's a lot of his own processing over the years, and maybe it's really his genuine belief as well that my kind of people deserve more help. So then again, maybe also he has very, very poor advisors that are surrounding him. So everyone talk the same language, and everyone maybe just dare not challenge him as much.
I mean, we all can agree, since May 13 and NEP, we do have a systemic issue, and there's no easy way out. I mean, no matter how you look at it. But if you have a option to decide, how to solve this subsidy, I mean, in a way, it is kind of related to the affirmative action and things like that, because it's like you want to reduce reliance on government, but that's the whole problem. I mean, we are not unique. I mean, my sisters, they all were just saying like in Australia, it's like getting from bad to worse. And I mean, don't even talk about UK, which is another cesspool, right? And so the globalists are basically, like what you were mentioning, we determine the lifestyle that you can have. And I think the other day I was just reading an article, and this is not a new concept, but you have the globalists, they like to say, oh, we're in a decline now. And I think the word they use is managed decline. And Obama is famous for that. And when he was president, and even after he stepped down, he kept on saying that the day of American glorious economy is over. You can hear his typical sound. Mm-hmm. And it's like, because he said, oh, we can never have GDP growth of more than 1%. But Trump proved him wrong immediately. So, and Trump is like the opposite. We are in a golden age, that kind of thing. So do you feel like there is that kind of managed decline mindset? And I mean, of course, it's not just Madani, Najib, Sabri, all the same, but everyone kind of like is more pissed off with PMS because he promised so much more. So do you feel like there's that kind of tone, we're in decline and I'm trying my level best? And You know, like one of the economy advisor, right? I think went on an interview and say, I think that people don't understand the economic hardship that is coming. He said even Straits of Hormuz open, the price will not come back anytime soon. Like he's trying to paint a doom and gloom situation, and basically it's like count your blessing. You all better be more appreciative of what we're trying to do. Did you get that kind of condescending tone from the government?
I mean, of course. I mean, personally, I'm personally in favor of like total removal for all categories. I mean, because I mean personally, I do feel Malaysia needs to come to a place of maybe like a decline, in the sense that more hardship, so that people can actually wake up that hey, actually all this while we have been receiving handouts and it's not helpful and doesn't help us to grow as a nation. So maybe Malaysia does need to go through that, but I feel it could be done like maybe in a more staggered phase, like slowly decline. Like earlier on you have 300 little of subsidy, now 200 little, then maybe a few months later, I don't know, like depending on the budget of this nation as well, because eventually the money will run out also. So if you have too much socialism in this country, it's also not helpful, because how many generations do you need to recover those sort of losses? I think we do need to have like a longer term goal. So it's not just about us, it's also about our children's children. I mean, so how can these people, what sort of legacy are we leaving to them? So on that note, I do feel we'll rather like tighten your belt a little bit now than to have like the next few generations also having to like go through extreme poverty just to come back to their food. So what Trump did very, very differently was he really kind of like just encouraged the people, hey, we're now at a golden age, and like literally he's like showing strength over and over again, and it actually restored a lot of hope to American homes. And even his policies was just like, hey, how are we gonna get more American babies? So I mean, on one note, he's like deporting the illegal migrants, and on the other note, he's also doing something to encourage more American born citizens. So why can't Malaysia be doing similar things? I mean, as in, you should have certain policies or certain kind of food that is actually helping people to grow. Like you eat things in a more healthy way, then people would begin to like explore a more different kind of alternative, maybe more healthier lifestyle, and maybe people find joy in doing all these sort of things.
It's interesting you mentioned about subsidy and Trump, because they are all kind of linked, and one of the things about Trump is this is his second term. He will not be eligible for another term, so he really, for lack of word, he doesn't care. Like he doesn't care because he doesn't need to get elected again, and so that's why, especially with the Iran war, and so many people are saying, oh, it's going to affect your base. Actually, the MAGA base is unshaken. It is really the Maha and the disgruntled Democrats who kind of voted him the last round. So or the anti-war, what's that category? The anti-war libertarian. Suddenly the word lost me. And so these are the people who are moaning and crying. But he is like kind of, with Tari, with certain things that he strongly believe, he do it. But then we look at Malaysia. Remember year one of Madani, they already talk about we need to deal with the subsidy because it is taking so much of our revenue. And now did you hear like what they're trying to recycle some old argument? Oh, why we are poor? It's all because of YMDB. We still have to pay the interest and things. I mean, it's true, but people don't want to hear about YMDB anymore. And if you mention that it's a reason why we cannot afford to pay, people don't care. They're going to punish you. And you see, like with Pardu and things like that, they kept delaying. And then with the Iran war, now every month is costing billions. So you have to do something, right? But of course, you can imagine it suddenly, what's the unsubsidized RON 95? 4?
Yeah, I think so.
3, 4? Well, I mean, actually, when you pump the petrol, you see the actual price, it's kind of like shocking, right?
Indeed.
So then before the subsidy is being applied, so Well, it's going to be a system shock, I think, if you remove the subsidy, but that will be, I don't know. Do you think people can see that, look, this kind of handout is not going to work forever? I mean, it's not,
I hope so.
It's like so conditioned to it already.
I mean, I do hope so, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's really, I guess it's like, do you want like just to be selfish and just have more comfort now, or do you actually want it to be like a more sustained sort of lifestyle, you know? Because you can enjoy it, and then but when you have certain delayed gratification and you begin to like enjoy the perks in your later days, so then that's where your later days can be even more better than your former days. So I think people don't think long term. People always think that, hey, my life is gonna be in decline, so why not just live the moment now? So I enjoy everything that I have now. So I feel that part is something that requires a lot of mind shift with many people.
I was just checking Anwar Ibrahim age 78 years old. So I think it's not a secret that he wanted another term, because he will be able to satisfy. You know, they wanted to. Is he already past, you know, the 10-year prime minister term limit, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think whatever that prime minister is doing, he is also having an eye on elections. So let's talk about election as we wrap up, right? And now you have all kind of development, right? And I think Rafizi and Gain say this weekend they're announcing a political direction. Hamza is saying that he's forming a new party. And so in a way, the Malay votes are kind of even more split. But of course, you can argue Rafizi and Gain maybe can appeal to some urban voter. So, but let's talk about PMX first. I mean, there seems to be, I mean, from his own supporter, that maybe there won't be another term for him. What do you say? I mean, is it premature, or the dynamics is not always so clear cut? Because I heard another, I mean, we use the word theory. Theory is not a very good word, but it is really a political opinion, and say that like PH and PN kind of need each other. You know, it's like you have PH who represent the progressive, and people who fear the progressive will want to go to the more conservative, which is Perikatan Nasional. But then if PN is weak, then some people will be like, oh, we cannot let the conservative to have too much power, so they may. So this kind of pendulum swing, right? But from your point of view, did you think that I mean, recently you see ex-MCA president went to keluar sekejap, and you see KJ went back to UMNO. The old Barisan Nasional gang seems very bullish that they will do well. And I hope they don't.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like all the UMNO MCA people think like they are in for a field day. I really hope not. But what do you make of this? You know, with Sabah elections, and you know, are the traditional voter of Harapan fed up with them, and are they going to punish them?
I mean, it could be like what is happening in the UK. Because I mean, the
So
punishment would be like no turnout, you know. then you,
which will give like so that's how. So UK is a great example of you have to get something worse, and now Stigma is on the path to become the worst rated prime minister in history. And in fact, actually, initially wanted to talk about UK election, right?
Yeah,
But I was just hearing somebody was saying that you know, typically when you lost so much in a council election, which is like a rough equivalent to midterms, in US, normally you have to step down. And what is the reason is because you step down and another leader can come in 1.5 years, maybe can rehabilitate the party to stand a chance. So the saying now is, regardless of who took over the leadership in Labour, they will still get beaten so badly in the next general election. So nobody wants to come in. Why should they come in and kill their own political career? So that's the saying now why the ironic thing is because they did so badly, Stigma is actually in a safer position.
Just continue to push through.
Yeah, because nobody wants to come in and risk their political career. So it's kind of ironic, right? But anyway, let's talk about here and now. I mean, yeah. What were you saying about the I mean, you said no turnout will be one.
I feel maybe there could be like no voters turnout, and that's really causing the current Madani government like a huge hit, especially like PH. So I feel that's also because we are very inclined to a Westminster system in the sense that we really, really look towards the West. So on that note, why not just take a playbook? I mean, take a cue from the playbook of what Reform is doing now. Reform Party in the UK, they're doing so well in the local election, and it's like it looks like Nigel Farage is like on the way to become the next prime minister. So if they continue on with this sort of victory, so I mean, and they are very relatively young party, and yet they could do so much. I mean, you could say their hands are tied because they are like so minority in the whole parliament, and yet they could do so much damage in the local election. So I feel that's how Madani shouldn't be continuing using a lot of excuses. Hey, our hands are tied. Our hands are tied. I mean, you could have done something. I mean, you could have go to the ground and really just like appeal to your voters. I mean, really do something that is useful for the voters. And so why not just learn from someone who has done it well? I mean, literally do a reformation in the nation.
And interestingly, did you read what Stigma did after he lost? He went even more against the Brexit people, and he's like he wants to prove that he is even more left than what Labour is.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain I read certain report that shows that maybe Labour Party should be like going back on Brexit, like before, like we should continue to be part of EU, sort of.
Yeah. They wanted to do that, but it doesn't seem to strengthen his position because he's like in such a bad shape. But coming back to Malaysia, do you think like we are going into like maybe some of the European nations like Netherlands or even like Israel, 10 political parties having, or even Germany, 7, 8 parties. Are we really moving away from the two-party system?
I mean, it's hard to tell.
I mean, at the minimum now we already have a four kind of strong block, right? We have the GRS, GPS, PH, and PN. If you include Barisan Nasional, it's 5. So, wow, it's not even 3 kingdom fight, it's 5 kingdom fight. So do you think this is the future for Malaysia? That anyone who wants to rule have to form a coalition, and then it becomes like satisfying a menu, right? And did you read like in Israel, the challenger to Netanyahu seems like open to work with the Arab Party, which is like promoting more of a Islamic centric kind of policy. So yeah, I mean that's what happened. I think 1 year, right? Even in UK, I think 1 year. Is it Labour? No, it's Conservative. I think they had to they work with another not Green Party. I think it's the Liberal Democrat or something, and then it was a huge disaster. Okay, so are we? I mean, Madani kind of already demonstrate a little bit of that compromise, right?
Yeah, I mean, they most certainly do. Yeah, I guess then again, it depends on a lot of what sort of leverage does every party have, right? So, and also it depends on how much fatigue the voters are feeling from all these events that are arising. So maybe, like it or not, I think the subsidy, the immediate thing on subsidy will really be maybe a crucial determining factor in the next GE. So maybe we could be headed towards like multi-party sort of country, but maybe it could also be strengthening certain party. Like, do we still want our old enemy back?
Yeah, and I mean, I would predict that if election is really coming, then probably PMS will be very conservative and try not to stir things up. But really, at the end of the day, why, here we kept on talking about Donald Trump, because he is unconventional and he is willing to do things that really benefit the lives of the people. And that's something that is very, very difficult to see, because our political class are so, they kind of model themselves after the globalists. And that's why majority of people, majority of the political class in this country, including much of the AP, have such a strong Trump derangement syndrome, because it's almost like he is operating against the political establishment spirit. So that's the thing. But I'm really hopeful that there will be someone like that from Malaysia. Doesn't matter it's from Malaya or East Malaysia. It doesn't really matter. Which will, and that will be the definition of populist. Populist in the sense that you are for the people. And sometimes populist means you have to subsidize. And not all subsidy is bad, because sometimes you need to help the people. But we're talking about systemic kind of thing. Since 1969, after so many years of you say we need to help the country, you still cannot get out of it. Then something is wrong, right? Because you're just enriching certain class of people. So I don't know if this election cycle we can see that, but who knows, like all the splintering, maybe someone will show up and say, kind of remind me of the days of old, right? You have like look at the Mongolian with Genghis Khan, they have so many factions. Or even you look at recent history, like Libya. They say Libya is like the most fragmented nation on earth. They have more than 100 tribes. But then Gaddafi was able to unite them, for better or for the worse. So maybe someone like that can rise up in Malaysia. But anyway, we are the Madani government is denying general election is coming, so we shall see.
Yes.
But anyway, our time is coming out. We try to kind of stick to 30 minutes, but we kind of fail. But it's okay. We shall try better next time.
Yes, we shall.
All right. So until next time, bye bye for now.
Bye-bye.